Hi, Steve. Good morning.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for joining me today, because I know it's a busy time for you as a hotel operator and you're working towards get everything open. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
So back in January, you organised the Three Counties and Cotswold Tourism Conference, which I attended, and it was a great event. What gave you the idea to set that up? What was behind it?
So in 2019, there was the Gloucestershire Tourism Forum, which took place at Gloucester Rugby. The format of that was very much around the current destination marketing organisation updates, with a few invites to some speakers geared around marketing and PR and some other accessibility topics. And it was a really interesting day. But actually, what I felt for 2020 when I talked to the DMOs about it was we wanted more of an event that talked about the industry. So to create a forum that had topics within it that were also discussion points, presentations given by industry leaders outside of tourism, but the impact on tourism that their updates could have. So some examples were the banking sector, how banking was important and is important to tourism, and what you can expect from your bank manager in terms of support. That's become even more important now, hasn't it?
Yes.
Other topics were the bounce back from the terrorist attack in Salisbury, and we had a great discussion about if our destination had a terrorist attack, how we could come back and build back from that. So it was a great experience to pull together 160 industry colleagues into the same room for the day, to network, to have a nice lunch, but to also almost treat it as a fresh start to the year and an education. So yeah, the feedback was great, and 2021 has been in planning for the last few months. So it's become an annual tourism forum now for the county.
Which is great. And so, what was the outcome? What was the outcome from that day, and what have you taken forward?
Well, the outcome very much during the day and thereafter was the passion that Gloucestershire has, all the people within it, and it oozed this sense of working together. This collaborative approach was needed, and there are pockets of collaboration in our county, within our sector, that do already exist. And what we want to do is build upon that. So off the back of that collaborative focus, Visit Gloucestershire partnership became a discussion point. So in February, a couple of weeks after the forum, I approached G1st LEP and had a discussion about what could we do for Gloucestershire to really give it some place on a map. We don't have a visit brand, and you've got counties like Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, Yorkshire, Cumbria, to name a few, and they have very strong, powerful visit brands for their county. And I just couldn't get my head around why Gloucestershire has never been successful in having it. It's had time periods in the past where it's existed, but not in that visit context. But I really felt that in order to take Gloucestershire forward at that point, without knowing about coronavirus, was a great stamp and start for 2020 off the back of the forum, so we could give it some weight in a domestic and international market. So yeah, established Visit Gloucestershire and incorporated it through the pandemic, and there the story starts.
Wow. So, what effect has the pandemic had? Because obviously we're talking about January, February, March, and then lockdown happened and the world came to a standstill, didn't it? So what have you been working on in that time?
Well, just before the pandemic, that kind of couple of weeks before, there was a lot of interest. I had about 140 industry colleagues all talking to me about Gloucestershire, and they were so keen to get on board that they became partners, and we were starting to discuss together, like you and I, what Gloucestershire could mean to us as colleagues within the industry. So I set up an agreement. We all started signing those agreements and thinking about what the next 5 years would look like for Gloucestershire. Then the pandemic lockdown began on the 20th of March. I remember sitting there. I think we'd met like only a few days before,
Yeah, we did.
wondering what the future of March was going to look like.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was puzzled as to where do I take Gloucestershire if I'm going to be stuck at home with the kids doing homeschool. However, what the lockdown has enabled me to do with Visit Gloucestershire is to really think about where it is now, where's Gloucestershire right now, and where could we get Gloucestershire to? And it won't happen overnight. So therefore, 653 partners later.
Wow, well done.
It went well. Everyone's been at home, so it was great to have a catch up. And actually, regardless of being able to meet up, you can do back-to-back Zoom calls or phone calls, and actually to have the opportunity to just sit down and talk to businesses in our sector where they've not been furloughed, but actually to have conversation about what's important for you for the future. It's not just about 2020 and what the current situation is and was back in March, but actually how could we make this something that we could be proud of and look back on in 10 years time or 20 years time. So we want to come back with a sustainable organization. So through the lockdown process, bringing on those partners, incorporating the partner hub on the website. So we've brought in non-visitor economy businesses to support visitor economy businesses in the partner hub. So those businesses can start to bring new skills into the sector and new support arms, so that we're working together as a partnership with partner support people and incorporating new skills into the sector to come back stronger, I hope. And then off the back of it, we incorporated Visit Gloucestershire as a community interest company, a not-for-profit, a social enterprise, if you like, so that there's all the profit and all the money that Visit Gloucestershire makes goes back into Visit Gloucestershire, and through some of the community projects, which if you go to Visit Gloucestershire and go on to Educate Gloucestershire, I've started to template out the Educate Gloucestershire model, which is supported by the visitor economy, and they work together. So we support getting people into work, but also inspiring our young people to come and work in the visitor economy businesses. And we start to get them out from their primary school and their secondary school education into the farms, into the workplace, and start to build and connect that relationship between the two.
So you've mentioned Educate Gloucestershire. What other sectors are you kind of looking at? Where's the focus?
Yeah, so when we were putting Visit Gloucestershire together, we came up with, in the end, these kind of core 8 divisions that focused on making a rounder management organisation. So it's a destination management organisation. So it was important that we considered what was important as an overarch to build Gloucestershire. Bearing in mind this was prior to Corona, but it's become very important now even. So within it were considerations around the discover of Gloucestershire, so discovering Gloucestershire, and what that means to the visitor who's looking at places to go. Meet Gloucestershire and Business Gloucestershire, which is something we've been talking about, and that's about how we grow mice business in Gloucestershire, and we work together across the county with places like Gloucester Rugby, the racecourse, Forest Green Rovers, out into the forest. And as we've been talking through the lockdown, is when people do decide to book a meeting for their colleagues and for their delegates, we could now start to look at what Gloucestershire has to offer, incorporate well-being and mental health resource, and look outside the box from a traditional boardroom style stuck in one room, and we can actually use Gloucestershire as a basis for something different compared to the city in Birmingham and Bristol and others. Let's look outside of what Gloucestershire has to offer for our business communities. We've got Food and Drink Gloucestershire, the supply chain within the hotels and the restaurants and the coffee shops. We had milk going down the drains during the lockdown, Gloucestershire milk, Gloucestershire beef going off. Why are we not looking at our own food and drink production and creating this sustainable supply chain within our county first, so that it's not going down the drains if and when we enter crisis in the future? We've also got rural Gloucestershire, which looks at our rural visitor economy, pubs and restaurants that are out in the middle of nowhere. They feel very disconnected from urban destinations like Gloucester and Cheltenham, who often receive most of the focus. So it's rural Gloucestershire within the visitor economy focuses on making them feel like they're part of it and part of that discovery brand.
We do have some beautiful destinations outside of those hubs, don't we? So within the
must highlight them. I know they do get coverage, and there is a lot of businesses that do marketing themselves to get their business message out and their business name, but actually we could do on behalf of the county. Gloucestershire is wonderful and eclectic, and it needs to be shared in its entirety. I'll come on to kind of some of the aims in a minute in terms of that length of stay. But we've then got global Gloucestershire. So it's really important that for the visitor economy, we get the Gloucestershire brand out there to the consumers. As hoteliers, we're in touch with agents who are always looking for FIT rates and tour rates for the next year. We should be looking at it as a county and treating ourselves as a holiday destination, not just a one stop off for the night and then off again, or a quick photo and off again. So food and drink, global, trade, so our relationships with those agents, it's important that across the globe we've already had inquiries for Visit Gloucestershire from Florida, Los Angeles, some parts of Northern Europe, Asia and Australia for 2021 onwards, and we're already looking at kind of maybe in that month when people start to come back, the tourists. But people are interested in what Gloucestershire has to offer, not just the Cotswolds, not just the Severn Vale and not just the Forest, but what can I do if I came for a week, and what could I experience to create that holiday? I think that kind of covers most of it.
a lot has been happening during the last 13 weeks or however many we're on now, so which is really exciting, and it's great that the time has enabled you to really focus on driving the Visit Gloucestershire brand and message and work forward. So looking into the future, what are the aims now for the organisation? Because obviously 2020 is what it is, but you know, the world will at some point return to our normal, whatever that looks like, and clearly Gloucestershire needs to be part of that mix.
It does. I mean, a sustainable Gloucestershire is something that was in the Visit Gloucestershire vision originally back in February. It was always important that we created a sustainable brand and had a sustainable product for the future. So bouncing back, obviously through July and August, I've been putting messages out there about staycation, and obviously that's what the general domestic marketing looks like. But again, for Visit Gloucestershire, it's hard to try and do something now when you're a young brand, and growing the partnership through the lockdown means that we've still got a way to go before we can really get Gloucestershire on the map. So my aim is very much to work across those 8 divisions and to start to work out, okay, so this is what's left for 2020. And let's face it, we're over halfway through the year now, thank goodness, because actually I think most of us want to turn 2020 off and wake up in 21 and hope that that's better. And I think for 2020, if we can establish a partnership model where everything's connected, people are talking, and we have an action plan that says, for our food and drink, the supply chain for Gloucestershire will look like this, and we'll work on a mechanism that creates that sustainable Gloucestershire from that. And from the visitor economy, bouncing back, what's the visitor journey going to be from what do we look like online and what can they experience when they're here? For the meetings business, which I know is something that you and I are desperate to have turned back on. When is that going to happen, and what will that look like? And that will form part of the next few months' planning for Visit Gloucestershire. And I know that there are partners already desperately talking to me and to you and to others, saying we're not sure when we're going to open, but we really want to make sure we're at the table when we do. And even if you have a planning meeting, we want to be part of it, because everyone wants to have that sense of outcome at the end. And as we start to develop those divisions and we unearth those relationships with the rural communities and the education partners, I'm sure for 2021 we'll have a more rounded approach to, one, being able to hook up and have a coffee together and actually do business, because that would be great, but also connect up all those dots and bring forward that Visit Gloucestershire brand and take it to market, but have everything behind it really strong, connected, collaborated. And I would rather go out to market with something in that sort of strength than have gone out during the lockdown when half the people are furloughed, so I couldn't discuss anything with them.
It's challenging.
You want everything on the journey. Everybody that has a business in a GL postcode, if you like, deserves to be part of the Gloucestershire brand journey, and they'll want to have their businesses definitely now taken out there so that they get to experience the same, hopefully, as all the partners do that have already signed up. So it's important we're on that journey together, and I just think for a sustainable long-term outcome, we must just do it when we're ready, and obviously given the circumstances, let's not run before we can walk.
Well, it certainly sounds like all the planning and all the the groundwork that's been done has put Visit Gloucestershire in a great place for the future. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been great.
That's all right, pleasure.
I'm looking forward to being a part of it as it continues on its journey forward.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Cheers, Suzanne.
Bye.